All right, y'all. Welcome to last week on Instagram. Make sure that you click that follow button, turn on your notifications, help me out in the algorithm, help yourself out to watch these videos where we're going to be clowning and having fun up here. So, the last four videos that we are going to cover from last week, we're going to look at the Peirsol swim story, so training technique. We have the Trainable-Sustainable Butterfly, the solid water for sprint freestyle and how to twist your body past that anchor point. So literally how to create an anchor actually. And then we have the how to whip kick. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So here we have my page. We're going to start with the solid water anchor point. All right, now the point of this drill is actually a drill that David Marsh had me doing. Okay, and what David had me do was I had to lay on my stomach and he gave me this huge like bear claw thing. I'll put it up on my story for Instagram. And I was instructed to pull with it or push it down, right? Which he literally meant push it down. I didn't know that at the time. But I remember that every time I tried to push it, at the same time, I was like pulling, like trying to pull, right? And I remember, and this is one of the things I learned about the importance of posture in your pull line is that when I did both, hopefully you can see this. I'll zoom in real quick. All right, watch this right here. When you do both, your shoulder kind of comes forward out of the socket right there, right? In socket, out of socket. And that's a really bad, this is athlete science, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. It's a bad position to be in. And what happened is because of how the thing was like very floaty, I had to really push and I could really feel like the pain in my shoulders. I was like, I don't know if this is right. And I never ended up getting it until I started coaching and I made up my own version of the drill. And I knew like how to make it work from my own experience, but never had explained it to an athlete until this time. And it was just like, this is the exact same thing that David wanted me to do. And luckily, since I had done it, I knew like how to coach him to avoid the shoulder stuff. But anyway, the purpose of this is we know that the water's a fluid, right? And because it's a fluid, it should be moving around the hand, right? We don't see that. We see the athlete displacing, right? So if you think about when you go to do your pull-ups, your hands don't displace, right? If it was a wimpy, loosey, like fluid-like bar, it would move, your hands would displace. Solid bar, solid water, your body displaces. So what we're trying to do here with this drill, and I think what David wanted me to do, and at least what I'm assuming and running with and I teach, and it's been elite so far, is, I don't know, it's not an assumption, your body moves through the water, is we take this pulling correctly, get into course if you want to figure out what that is. But you take this pulling correctly, and for the body to displace, that means the hand isn't displacing. Right now, obviously, it's a fluid, and there's going to be some displacement, a lot of displacement, really. But there's enough to where the swimmer is displacing. Now, the thing that I find gets a little confusing, and this is something you need to be clear on, is that think about the equation for slope, right? So once we get this down, the only thing that I instruct the swimmers to do is then to just try and get their eyes, or like maybe their ears, but definitely the eyes, in the water. Now, when we take the equation for slope, right, y equals mx plus b, the only thing you need to change is the slope, right? That's all. And that's what the head position does, is it changes this. But everything else still needs to be the same. You still need to feel like +5 or whatever your x-intercept, y-intercept is what I mean, which would be the pressing down, right? Because you're also coaching a feeling with this drill progression, which is the feeling of being here and squeezing downwards, which when you get flat, this downward squeeze is now a backwards squeeze, right? And then so in that little part where you're pressing down in the front, when you have that slope, let's use this, right? When you're upright, pressure's going down, right? When you change that angle, it's now backwards. But you still have this part in the beginning where it's upright, and that's where we want to get that bounce. And we look at the drill progression, we want to get that bounce. And then now in that next second where now it's only going backwards, one, we want to twist past this anchor point, right? But now it's also only pressing the water backwards, right? Whereas if we're looking at it from the front, if it was wide and going back, we would swing this way, right? So making sure that the bounce happens at the right time, that the recovery comes around the right time so that we swing, we go over it. All these details are important. And like, I'm now beginning to articulate this correctly. Like that's what level of details we want with Reykli, right? That's, your bottom 65% of athletes who maybe if they swing this way, right, it now something else looks ugly. And you can see, I saw some swimmer, I forget what country, but her first pull was like way out here. And she's like an NCAA relay level swimmer, NCAA D1. And it's like, geez, like that's the level of talent that can get away with this error, right? Most of our kids are going to need that error, that gap in performance, that leakage filled up so they can really apply 100% of their effort and get through and not have to fill this gap or this leakage in their stroke technique. So that timing, like having these timings correctly and making sure that when they're done correctly, it doesn't mess up something else, is very important to what we're trying to accomplish. All right, so our next one we are looking at, we're going to go to how to whip kick. All right. So with the whip kick, I've had this listed as pigeon in some cases also. And I'd say like with Eddie, when I got to UT, pretty much changed my whole breaststroke, right? From the pulling, the kicking, especially I was a frog kicker dominantly, but my left knee could get to the whip kick, whereas my right knee was one of these ones and squeezed together, right? So I literally had to learn how to spin my knees, which ironically, like this drill progression right here that you're seeing is something that I did before every breaststroke race. You have your pre-swim ritual or whatever, and this was a part of mine. I'd, get behind the blocks, do my jumps, do my warm-ups and everything. And then I would lift my knee up and I'd spin my knee, try and relax everything and just spin it. Go the opposite direction, go the correct direction a few times. Just get that nervous system warmed up and then get out there and go. And like it was a little bit easier of a thing to pick up on, but I never tried to apply it at the same time in the water with power. So that was a learning experience. And that's also how I learned I only have a left breaststroke knee. I do not have a right breaststroke knee. I can fake it, but it will hurt. And then, Eddie, I'm done with breaststroke for today or the week. Get me out of here. But yeah, that's how they came to be. And then you get into the actual pigeon-toedness where if you take your knee joint, right? Let's see, how can I draw this? Like this, right? So here's your knee joint, here's your foot. If I'm here, right, you have duck feet, which is out, and you have pigeon-toed, which is inwards. If I bend, and this is your foot, if I bend my knee, boom, and it's facing this way, my foot is outside. Here's my hip. Right? If I'm duck-footed, I'm here, where my hip is inside, my foot is outside. So just getting pigeon-toed naturally moves this out to where when it locks out, the knee spins around like you're seeing right here. So when he turns that hip, if he was just put it down on the ground right there, his toes would point inward. And you can even see it when he kicks around and it comes around the side, which is just straightening the knee. Oh, you can't see it. His toe is pointed inward right there. And then after he switches the knee, it points outwards. And you'll see right here. Okay. If he didn't point his toe, right? All right. So we next have the Trainable-Sustainable Fly. Now this post did numbers. So this was a shared post with Drayden. So make sure that you guys go give him a follow. Let's see. Where is it? Yeah, that one did some good numbers, right? Drayden Bell, swims at Alabama, sprinter, the Holy Promised Land. Go give him a follow, guys. So, the easy sustainable butterfly. It makes no sense to me why, and this is the thing where I'll say like we're ahead of the curve. I've never heard, and I don't absorb swimming media like that. I prefer to just look at technique rather than hear people talk about boring stuff that doesn't like push the sport forward. Like that's how I look at it. But so I don't absorb a lot of media unless I'm watching technique stuff or races. And I've never heard anybody say that Marshawn, well, at the time it was Phelps and Milok, but Marshawn, Phelps, and Milok all have the exact same technique. Marshawn's a little, there's different variations based on their range of motion and flexibility and just their physical profile and athleticism. But for the most part, as far as positioning timing, this hip angle bends when this arm angle is here, right? You can see their wrists, both hands pointed outwards, but then we try and teach everybody palm down. But the three most elite 200 flyers who just smoke the competition, don't just win, smoke the competition, all exhibit the same thing and are dominant. Like, why is that not like a fundamental thing that we're chasing? I know we chase it, right? That's where I say it's a high conversion 12 and under butterfly, beginner BB content, which really is purpose for 8 and unders. That's like the peak of their motor skill ability. But like that's the fundamentals right there, right? That is the high efficiency stroke technique, right? We all know the 2 fly sucks. Okay, and if you don't, your athletes know it. But yet these guys are able to swim this at such an efficient level and at the same time faster than everybody else. So if you need to train fly or swim fly for a long distance, these 3 have shown that it's the way to do it. It's like the same thing when like the anchor the catch thing I just showed. Like that I learned that through failure when David taught me it, right? And you know, I've seen people just like disparage his like philosophy about leveraging yourself down the pool, right? And it's just like his philosophy and his like, I don't want to say not underlings, but assistant coaches, but what's the word? Disciples, that's the word. The disciples of his Auburn sprint philosophy, right? We have Mike Bottom, Dave Durden, Brett Hawk, right? If you combine them and David Marsh, and I may be wrong, it's either 1999 to 2008 or it's 1999 to 2016. I think it's 2016. But they've accounted, listen to this. This sprint philosophy has accounted that everybody disparages that I've seen. Okay? Coaches that I respect and I've learned a lot from about freestyle disparage this. 69% of first place victories or first and second place or just only second places. So if you combine those 3 categories, they're responsible for 69 of the success in those events for the 50 yard free at the D1 level, the 100 free at the D1 level, the 4x50 and the 4x100, right? But you'll take that success, this outlier philosophy that's dominated our sport, and not make that the gold standard. You won't take these 3 guys who all swim the exact same way and not make it the gold standard, right? Like, and I have a video this week about leakages and how that was like a major turning point in me being able to articulate what Reykli does and why you need it. And like the benefits of this behind or the back of the hand recovery, like people say that, hey, it's not good. That's fine. I get it. But it's not about the backhand recovery. It's about the like 6 or 7 things that it allows you to do naturally just by doing that. That enhance like all the important things about butterfly. But you don't want to do back of the hand recovery or thumb down recovery because you just want to do palms down. So you're basically like, listen, here's one right here. I'll give you one right here. If you go palms down recovery, your chest is closed. Chest is closed. Right? You have to go with the thumbs down. Right? Now, if it's a straight elbow, that's going to naturally make swimmers open up to the chest. Like that's your chest press. Like there's more than that than just that, right? Because if your chest press goes down, your butt comes up. Now you can get right into your catch. Like there's tempo, which means you can get your up kick, which means your pull comes faster, your breath comes faster, right? Like the benefits. Let's move on. It's just stupidity everywhere, right? And then our last one. The Peirsol swim story. Okay, so I got to actually ask a question about this one. Let's see. It's here so we can actually talk about it. I'm going to really go into this on, I think it's Friday. But you can see right here, I'd love to understand. Shout out to swim coach Mitch over there in Aussie land, down under. I'm pretty sure it's Australia. But I love to understand the context of exactly what you mean here. I hugely respect your work. Yeah. Okay, right? So, did I not give him a like? Man, I'm tripping. My bad, dog. Show love to those who show love back, guys. So the context of this, right? So the back of the hand technique thing, right? Where doing it right make sure that you can get to your chest press. Make sure that you can get to your up kick. Those things make sure that you have less time spent here, right? Because now your chest can get down earlier, you can get into your catch faster, you can get your tempo up naturally just by doing this. Because now you don't need an out sweep to open up your chest and come back up and pull. So these things are what you're trying to make go fast, right? So when you're swimming, like what Peirsol is talking about here, where you get tired and then you're trying to make the technique go fast, right? So the back of the hand and all the benefits that come from that, you're focused on those things and making sure they stay crisp, timed correctly, and then making those things go to time. So you're not even trying to go to time. You're focused on your technique, and then you finish, you look up. Okay, I want my time. Do it again. Keep it together. Finish, look up. Okay, I go my time. Maybe now you try to put some pressure on it, right? You went faster. You added, right? Let's just do that one at a time. Sorry, guys. So you went faster, right? Okay, is there a way that I can now make this more efficient? So maybe I need to get my butt up faster so I can get into my shoot and my pull, which means now I can back off my pull strength because I'm getting more frequent up kicks, which now I can hold this 26-second long course, repeat 50 effort because I'm not pulling as hard. And I've now kind of like moved my propulsive area to a part that doesn't fatigue as fast, which is going to allow me to sustain my effort. So once I know that I start feeling the burn and maybe I go back up, now I bring my arms back in it, right? And now I'm maintaining this. Maybe I'm adding time, right? Well, are my thumbs entering down? So on the next one, you make sure your thumbs are down, and maybe you are aggressive on your chest press, which then gets your butt up, which then, obviously shoots you forward. You get your up kick, get you into your next pull, and your time comes back down. Okay, I've identified a weakness of mine when I'm tired that I need to make sure I focus on, that I'm entering with my thumb down, right? So, Coach Mitch, that's kind of what Peirsol was. And I'm going to go into this like a lot more. I'm going to talk about the leakages, which I kind of just talked about with the butterfly stuff, like the benefits. Oh yeah, I can say now too. The second and third hand benefits that are with the technique. But that's kind of what I took it as, right? And like I said, I'm going to go into it, but when I started coaching, it was like, oh man, like the leakages that I'm seeing at these state championship meets, which are kids who go AAA and quad A times here in Texas, they're not doing these things, which means they're either not training their technique and they're not getting the benefit from their technique. So it's like falling apart. And they're not harnessing it and controlling it and training it. And like, if you do that, like we would have 22 kids in a lane, right? Like if I can get kids doing every stroke correctly for a 25 all out, like, the youngsters who are just starting, they're going to actually be training their stroke. So maybe we only get 200 yards in of value, but we get 100% of the 200. Whereas maybe another team does 1,000 yards, but they're only getting 20%. You see what I'm saying? So really they only get 200 yards. Now, maybe their extra yardage shows up in endurance events. It probably won't show up in sprint events. Well, it probably will towards the end, but like that's something we can fix. And I learned really like there's a multi-level process that went into making Reykli, but that's something I learned talking to Surhoff, who's from at North Baltimore, about his club development process that he went through. Essentially made youth champs youth worlds, I guess is what it's called, as a 18 and under. Eric Friedland, whose team, Rockville Montgomery Swim Club, shout out to them, was always in the running for national age group relay records, which means they at least had 4 swimmers every year in their age group kicking ass, right? Sorry, let's close this. You don't need to see him talking, right? And then Jack Conger, who was at Machine. Somebody else was too. I think it might have been Eric too, but he was there, and then on to NCAP, but talking to him about his experience, and then being here with Nitro at the time when they were, the dominant force in Texas, or in Central Texas at least, and to a degree at the national level, winning juniors. But looking at their stuff, you can't find it anymore. But man, when you want to win, you're gonna do that research, and I found all their stuff, like how they did their progressions through groups, and I recognized similarities between other stuff I had researched and a little bit of alignment with what they were telling me. So success leads clues, like I said, like you have these outliers, which maybe they're not, but unimportant. You have this philosophy that all 4 of them were using, and it was giving them amazing success with high schoolers. You add a technique side on it that I can offer, boom, right? And that's why the team I was on, we were kicking ass, But yeah, that's the week in review. Make sure you drop a comment. Let us know which part you liked. Let us know if there's something you want us to look at. That you can email it to us, support@Reykli.com. We're gonna try and find a way to make that a little bit of a cleaner process. If you want us to look at stuff, maybe we have another day to go over that. But drop a like. If you thought this, I've never done this before, huh? If you thought this information was valuable, if you learned something, drop a dislike if you didn't. Let us know how we can get better. You can't hurt my feelings. I had a coach told me he wished he could rip the bee out my heart and watch it die in his hands, basketball coach. So, you can't do much worse than that. So without no further ado, thanks for listening, guys. Peace.